Hi, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Luthiers podcast. Today, we're going to discuss the relationship between a musician and the luthier when it comes to setting up a guitar. So, I've been repairing guitars for over 15 years now, and I'm always baffled by how important the first seconds of a conversation is with a musician that brings the guitar in. So there's something really interesting that happened lately. A guy came in with an extended range. It was a slightly longer scale guitar. It was a 7-string, and he was telling me how he felt that he could get more out of a guitar that he paid $2,000. And I had to agree that the playability was not as good as we would like to. And he basically asked what most of what musicians ask, which is to lower the strings to make the guitar more comfortable and just to do a setup and to make it as good as new. This is the standard thing that musicians ask. And it's understandable. No one wants to struggle with the strings being too high, because this leads to having more difficulty to play the melodies that you're investing so much time to learn. It makes the hand work harder. It's just like going to the gym. You either take 5 pounds or you take 25 pounds. It's not going to be the same energy that's required to do the same exercise depending on the weight. The further your strings are from your neck, the heavier the weight. So I understand musicians coming in asking, just make it easier to play. Sometimes it's a little more specific, like there's a buzz on that specific fret, and can you just make it sound clean? The more precise a musician is with his problem he's trying to solve, the easier it is to actually meet that need and to make him happy. So going back to the musician who brought me the long scale guitar 7-string, he said he wanted me to make it play better, and I was like, yeah, I can do that, but how is it not comfortable? Strings are too high. Okay, is there a specific area where they're too high? Everywhere? Sometimes it's a no-brainer, and you see on the instrument that this is the actual situation, but sometimes it's not that clear, and this is where it gets the trickiest, because it's so easy to say, yeah, I'll take care of it. Yeah, don't worry, I'll take care of it. It's what the musician wants to hear, but the reality is you have no idea how to take care of it. You can understand how to lower the strings, but is it really what the musician wants? And with that specific musician, I dig just a little deeper to understand what was his needs. I like to ask, what type of music do you play with it? So extended range can often be metal or it can be jazz. He was playing more of a metal kind of music, and I asked him what were the specific techniques that he was trying to pull off. Is he doing some heavy gent on the low strings? Is he doing sweep picking that requires super low strings with low tension? So I was trying to get some specific answers in order to get a direction, because the higher, the more skilled the musician is, the more skilled you need to be in order to improve the instrument to his standard. It's not that you want the strings to be it's not that the lowest you put the strings, the better it plays. When the musician has high standards, it narrows the frame where you need to get the right string height, and it's not as low as percent of the time. In over 15 years, I think it was one guy that could handle string height, but most musicians need a certain height in order to be comfortable, otherwise it just buzzes all the time. So going back to this musician, he ended up telling me that he was doing a lot of sweep picking, gents, solos. He was playing everywhere on the fingerboard. And he then shared with me that there were multiple metal songs that he was not able to perform on the guitar because string tension was not quite right. He was not able to make his guitar comfortable to play for the songs he wanted to play. That was his main guitar. That was the most expensive guitar he had in his arsenal, and he was not able to use it for what he was intended to. This is where it all became clear. The issue was not to put the strings lower. The issue was to set up the right string tension in order for him to be able to tune it to a standard tuning. He wanted to have it a half step lower or a full step lower, and if I did a perfect setup with that string gauge and that tuning, he would have ended up paying for a setup that would not even make his guitar able to play the songs he was trying to play with them. I didn't even know what the issue was. Yet he did tell me sort of the right thing. He told me it needs to play better. The strings need to be lower. This is what a musician thinks. When it's hard to play, you want the strings lower. The issue there was not the string height. It was just a little. And there's a great tool that I'm going to share with you. So stay until the end of the video to have this tool. It's going to save you a. But going back to this musician, when I was able to spot that the issue was the string tension, then I was able to solve the problem and to make the guitar comfortable to play. So I did calculate the tension of the strings according to his specific guitar, his tuning, and what are this is the parameters. So the scale length, the tuning, and when I got the proper string gauge custom for his situation, I ordered a bunch of packs and installed one, and then I was able to see how the guitar would react. It would settle down with this specific tension. It moved quite a bit since the original strings, and then I was able to perform a setup. So the knot was too high, relief was just a little too deep, and the string height were a little too high too. So it was a completely different guitar, but most important is the intonation. Since I changed the string tension, intonation was off on every string. This is not a big deal. I did that work too, and it ended up being a great instrument to play. He's coming in a few days to come and pick it up, and I'm really excited to see how the result satisfies him. Hopefully it does, and if it doesn't, what's really nice about knowing the string tension is if I know that he doesn't like the setup that I like or the relief, but overall we are pretty much dead center on the optimal situation that this guitar can offer. If he doesn't like it, there's something that needs to be changed with the string tension. I don't remember the exact numbers for this pack of strings, but I know that if he thinks it's too low, too loose, we would change for just a little bit higher in terms of tension, and then we could narrow down even further the exact string gauge that he needs to play for his personal preferences and music style. So you've waited until now. If you've listened until now, this is the thing I wanted to share with you, and it's called a string tension calculator. So there are multiple websites where you can find these calculations, and basically what you're looking for is a mathematical calculation that gives you the tension of the string in pounds, and the parameters are the note of the string, the gauge of the string, and the length of the string. When you have these parameters, you have the tension in pounds. So this is a very precise number, and what I like to do is I take a Strat. I take one of the standard in guitars. So for an electric guitar, I'll take a Strat. So this is a 25.5 scale length. I'll take 1046 string gauge, and I'll take a standard tuning. And this is the standard tension that is a target. For me, it's a reference. So if you're not sure what is the proper tension you're aiming for, you start with the Strat. And then for an acoustic guitar, we'll look into the specs of a Martin, 25.5 scale length, 1253 strings, light gauge. So this will give us specific tensions. And if you want to have custom tuning, you can keep the scale length. You can change the tuning from standard to the one that you want to use, and then it will change all the tension. So you go ahead and you modify the string gauge until you reach the tension that is the same as the standard pack in standard. I was doing this a couple of years ago when a musician asked for a guitar in drop B tuning. This is a 6 string in drop B, and he was down tuning the low B to even further down. So I had a lot of calculation to do. It ended up being, I think the gauge was 11 to 68, so it was wild. And for a guitar show, I asked if he could lend me the guitar. The thing was, since I had a guitar that was so down tuned that nobody would be able to play it and see how it feels, so I had to put it back in standard tuning. So before going to the show, I took the guitar, I put it on a bench, and I took a pack of 1046. And if you remember correctly, 1046 with a 25.5 string 25.5 scale length is my referral point for string tension. So I put on 1046, put them in standard, as opposed to drop B tuning with 1168. And what happened with the 1046 in standard is the relief stayed on point, string height stayed on point, and even intonation was exactly right. This happened because I did the calculations precisely. So if you understand the string tension calculation tool, you will be able to save a lot of trouble with dealing with the truss rod. If the best gain you can make with this tool is when people ask me, I want to try a different tuning, should I change? I want to try a different tuning, should I adjust the truss rod? If you get the exact tension of the string right, you won't need a new setup. Maybe you'll need to, but if you're off by a couple pounds, then it might make the neck move and you'll need a setup. So that was a tool to help you calculate what is the precise string gauge that you need. But the most important of all of that is the communication between the musician and the guitar maker and the tech. It can make a whole lot of a difference. If I would have only lowered the strings, I might have made his life a little better, but it would have never been the same as when I find the root of the issue. So when people come in here, I like to take the time to really figure out what the issue is, especially when it's the first time that I see a guitar. Other shops do it differently. They don't let the musician speak to the guitar tech or the luthier, and that's another way of work. I like to speak directly to the musician and spend the time to really figure out what is the root cause, and this is something that allows me to make a better job. So thank you for listening. If you like that video, please share it to a friend that might benefit from what I shared in this episode, and I'll see you in the next one.